A person rides a bike along a road in a barren landscape. There are factory buildings and a mountain range in the background.
Oh man, it is always a little bit scary doing this. My vision presents in a really bizarre way. There's this dead spot in the center of my eyes that doesn't really give me much input at all.
The whole thing happened in a period of weeks. Looking back to the first time he mentioned he couldn't see something when he was writing, to the time he had fully lost all of his central vision and just coping with the new normal.
The biker rides along a path. A man addresses the viewer. A point of view perspective of the biker becomes blurred with static. A woman addresses the viewer. Several old photographs of a boy and one of him standing next to a Christmas tree. Old photographs of the boy, now a bit older and with family members.
The independence that I was working so hard to get was completely stripped of me. I spent like 2 or 3, maybe 4 years in this room doing nothing. It wasn't until I kind of found climbing that I kind of re-found that spark and that like a little bit of freedom. From that day on, I was climbing every single day. I would climb until my hands bled. I found climbing and I didn't know where it was going to go, but that's all I wanted to do.
2 young men playing chess. One of the men twirls a chess piece in his fingers. A man approaches a climbing wall and begins to climb. A montage of the man climbing various rock walls. The man shows his bleeding hands. Another man walks behind him. The man climbs a rock wall. Text: The Blind Ascensionist.
Growing up, generally I'd just like to do anything that challenged me, whether that be soccer or paintball. BMX was definitely one of my biggest passions. BMX specifically was one of those things that seemed like it was limitless with what I could challenge myself to do. Growing up in Tulsa, Oklahoma was a pretty awesome place to ride BMX. Definitely a big hub for BMX. It was a very gradual change when I started losing my sight. I think just because of the age that I was losing my sight, my body was adapting. I was going through puberty. I was training a lot with my brother. We liked lifting weights. We liked practicing soccer all the time. And I was riding bikes at the same time as all this. I was just being as active as anybody else.
Several people riding bikes down a street. Text: Presented by Eon in association with Team Salas Media. TFA Group, Evolve, Fizzavantage. A man does a jump on a bike on a quarter pipe. Several people riding bikes. A man does a 360 spin on a bike. An aerial view of a city. A man walks with a mobility cane down a sidewalk. Text: Justin Salas. Justin addresses the viewer. Justin walks down a sidewalk with a mobility cane past walls with murals on them.
It was really interesting. I started noticing I couldn't really see my friend's house down the street. And I didn't really think anything of it because when I was 6 years old, I needed to get glasses. And I remember when I put those glasses on, it was like, holy smokes, there's leaves on these trees and I can see people's faces and all these things, but that was just the lenses themselves needed to be corrected. It wasn't until I went to the eye doctor after complaining to my mom that my vision was getting more and more strange. They did a standard eye chart test. My eye doctor was like, oh, your vision's at 2200.
I remember thinking, well, he's never been able to correct him fully, but it's always been more than that. And so I said, is that normal? He said, well, no, actually, maybe not. So he did some more tests. He did the optic nerve test and several others that I don't even remember and got concerned.
It was probably a full year of doctor's appointments. And I saw neuro-ophthalmologists, normal eye doctors. I had CT scans and brain scans and MRIs with contrast and all sorts of things. Nothing was coming back. Even blood was sent off to the National Eye Institute and there was no diagnosis given to it.
A blurry shot of a house and mailbox. Justin addresses the viewer. A retinoscope comes into focus. An eye chart becomes blurry. Justin's mother addresses the viewer. A woman holds a pen in front of Justin's face. He sits next to a retinoscope. A doctor shines a light over Justin's eyes. A doctor holds an instrument up to Justin's forehead. Doctors run several eye tests on Justin, putting lenses and lights up to his eyes.
Eventually, they slapped this label on me that was an optic neuropathy of unknown origin. Essentially what that means is the optic nerves the nerve that connects the eye to the brain is atrophied. It's dying or partially dead. And so it presents as though someone has pulled the cables out of the back of an old tube TV and it goes like gray and pixelated with like blotches of color in it. That's essentially what I see in the middle of my vision. It was about an hour car ride home from the Dean McGee Eye Institute in Oklahoma City to Tulsa, my hometown. And man, I was grim. I mean, I guess anybody would be, right? Like if you're, a young teenager, your parents just bought you and your brother a car to learn how to drive, and you were looking forward to being a fighter pilot and all these things. And ultimately your life takes a pretty big trajectory change.
A doctor looks at a computer screen. Justin sits behind him, also looking at the screen. The doctor faces Justin. The doctor and Justin converse. The doctor writes notes. A TV with static on the screen. Justin stares at a static TV screen. Justin sits in the passenger seat of a car driving on a highway. Justin addresses the viewer.
I didn't really want to do anything. I didn't want to be a part of friend groups. I was being made fun of because my friends didn't understand what was going on. Oh, Justin can't see that, haha, what are you going blind? And so I just became pretty reclusive. I didn't want to go to like family gatherings and all sorts of things. There was a lot of severe depression and thoughts of wondering if I should try and continue with life. And yeah, it was a rough time.
Justin puts his hands over his face. He addresses the viewer. Justin holds the back of his neck. Justin is hunched over, holding his head in his hands. Fades to black.
I was playing, kicking the ball around in the front yard one day, and I hear a cassette on a BMX bike rolling down the street, and I was like, that sounds like a BMX bike, that's interesting. And I hear someone say, "Yo, Jay," and I was like, who's like, I don't know that voice, and I was like, who is it? And he was like, "It's Bo," and I was like, what are you doing? Because Bo had actually moved away for several years, and I had no contact with him. He didn't know about all this. And we sat down on the curb in front of my house, and I just told him about everything. I lost my sight, dude. I'm blind now. And I just remember him being quiet for a moment when I finished talking, and he was like, "Do you want to go ride?" This was the first time someone had offered to help me do something like this. Like, I didn't know what a sight guide was. I didn't know what a collar was, how a partnership between somebody with sight and non-sighted was going to work out, especially with speed and pace and danger and all these things. I just knew that I was bored, and I didn't know what I was doing in life. I was just kind of idle. It was a pivotal moment for me because it ultimately gave me the courage to start trying things that were once really terrifying for me. This whole time, one of my best friends, Nick, who was working at the climbing gym, was always like, "Dude, you should come climb, it's sick." And I was always like, "Dude, no way. Like, of all the things you think you need your sight for climbing." And he was like, "I'm going to keep bugging you about it." He did. It wasn't until later on in 2015, 2014, me and my friends started getting into more outdoor stuff. And we started going on backpacking trips, and we started trying to scramble around on Chandler Park in Tulsa. And yeah, we spent a day just trying to scramble up these rocks with tennis shoes, and a friend had given me a chalk bag I didn't really know what to do with.
A person rides a bike down an urban street. A close-up shot of bike gears. Justin addresses the viewer. A close-up shot of a bike wheel. Wearing a helmet, sunglasses, and a backpack, Justin rides a bike in a barren, mountainous landscape. Justin addresses the viewer. Close-up shots of a climbing wall. A steep hill lush with trees. A close-up shot of leaves on a branch. A craggy mountainside. Justin climbs a rock wall. Justin wipes his chalky hands together.
I remember thinking, if we like this, we should go try climbing. And we went, me and my buddy Daniel, for the first time. And it was at this point, walking in there and getting accustomed to climbing again, it just blew my lid off. It was holy crap, I am not hitting these roadblocks that I was hitting with biking. Even on the first day, I climbed my first boulder problem, and then Daniel and some other people at the gym were like tapping on holds and yelling, "Oh, that's the wrong foothold," or whatever. And I was able to climb and then climb a couple more, and it was like opening a new chapter. And I bought a membership that day. I would go every single day until my hands were literally bleeding like crazy. And then I would go home and wait till my hands could, climb again, or I would just tape them up, and then I would go back to the gym. I spent every single day, as long as my body would hold up, I would just climb as long as I could.
Justin climbs a steep rock wall. Justin addresses the viewer. Justin approaches a wall in a climbing gym. He wipes his chalky hands together. He climbs the wall. He climbs further up the wall. Justin looks up at the climbing wall. He climbs the wall.
You're going to do an opening move, right-handed to a right pinch.
Like straight up?
Out to your right more.
Yeah.
Yep, that's correct.
The relationship between a blind climber and their guide is extremely intimate. It's important to have a strong camaraderie with your caller, moreover than just like how fast they are at articulating information. Me and one of my best friends, Matt Frederick, he was like the person that really first took me out climbing outside for the first time and showed me what it was to be an outdoor climber, not just a gym climber.
Being in sync and being coordinated definitely affects the chemistry of what we do. There's a lot of trust going on with him just listening to me and doing his best to use me as a resource. We have that foundation of going on bouldering trips, spending a lot of time together, and I've spent a lot of time just studying him, figuring out what his needs are, what's going to help him excel the most, like learning his geometry, learning like his spatial awareness, like what kinds of holds does he like, what kinds of positions does he like to be in. All those things play into our success when it comes to calling and things.
Justin lies on a mat on his back with his arms and legs in the air as a man sitting on a stool guides him. Justin moves his limbs accordingly. A close-up shot of Matt talking to Justin. Justin addresses the viewer. Justin climbs a wall as Matt guides him by tapping the wall with a stick. Text: Matthew Frederick, site guide and climber. Matt addresses the viewer. Matt taps a climbing wall with a stick as Justin climbs. Matt and Justin converse. A close-up shot of Justin's face. A photo of Justin climbing a wall.
In 2017, I was given the opportunity to compete in my first paraclimbing national championships. I wanted to kind of prove myself that like all this time outdoor climbing was going to prepare me for like competition climbing. As it turns out, it did. I ended up winning the competition. It kind of proved to Matt and I that we had what it took to, do well in competition climbing. Matt and I weren't satisfied with this. We knew that there was a world championship in Innsbruck, Austria in 2018 next year. We set our sights on that. We trained really hard for a full year to make it there, and we honed a lot of skills.
Come on!
Justin addresses the viewer. He climbs various steep rock walls as his friends watch from the ground. A photo of Justin winning first place. He stands next to the second and third place winners and a dog. Justin gives his friend a pound. Text: Innsbruck, Austria. A body of water, the facades of buildings, and mountains in the background. People walking in a courtyard past buildings. Justin climbs various rock walls.
And it was amazing. We were in front of a sold-out arena. I just remember thinking that, this is like a pinnacle moment in life. This is such a big deal.
Now he's underway.
Initial sections of the route, not giving him too much description.
So he's about to enter the really steep section of the wall. Doesn't let off much. So Justin Salas onto the fourth panel of the Innsbruck wall, and there is the crown, and there is the win. Justin Salas, World Championship.
We ended up winning the competition. Some of my biggest idols in climbing were coming up to me and being like, "Well done, that was amazing, you really earned that."
A large audience looks on at a stage with a climbing wall on it. As a woman adjusts his harness, Justin hypes up the audience, putting his arms in the air. The audience cheers him on. Justin addresses the viewer. Justin climbs the wall. A timer counts down from 5:57. A guide looks up at Justin as he climbs. Justin puts more chalk on his hands and keeps climbing. At 3:36, Justin falls from the rock wall and dangles from his ropes. Justin celebrates at the competition and people rally around him. Justin hypes up the audience.
I'm just an Oklahoma boy who has only been climbing for 4 or 5 years at this point. And I don't know how I made it here. In 2020, I was still in my parents' house, not really where I wanted to be in life. Tulsa for me ended up being a place where I was watching everybody around me evolve and grow. People were getting married, having kids, buying houses. And I just remember thinking something has got to change. At this time, I was meditating a lot. I remember meditating one morning and I just felt like this really weird surge to look for jobs in Salt Lake City. I got on my computer and I just applied to every single job in Salt Lake City that I could think of. And I saw Specialized. Specialized called me back.
The audience cheers Justin on. Justin hugs a friend. A photo of Justin and the other winning climbers holding bouquets of flowers fades to black. City buildings at dusk. The facade of a brick house. A mailbox and chimes on the front porch. Justin addresses the viewer. A blurry view of a smoky room with plants in it. Justin meditates while sitting on a rug. A close-up shot of his bracelet. Justin works on a computer. A small dog sits on a couch behind him. Justin pulls up a bike on the computer screen. An aerial view of a city. Text, Salt Lake City, Utah.
It's a great foot in the door. It's just been, an amazing experience, and it's given me a lot of confidence. I got my hands on a gravel bike, and as a little kid, I used to go to bike shops and see these bikes at bike shops and think that's the holy grail, So I was fulfilling childhood dreams of mine, working for this bike company that I saw as a little kid. I'm really stoked to be incorporating bikes and climbing into my life at this point because it's kind of full circle. Bikes started everything for me. It accelerated my climbing because I was able to get over the fears of falling and climbing into the unknown of terrain I don't know, and now I'm riding to work.
Justin addresses the viewer. A garage door opens, revealing a bike and helmet. Justin and a woman enter the garage and approach the bike. Text, April Davidson, Justin's girlfriend. Justin and April walk their bikes out of the garage. An aerial view of Justin and April riding their bikes on a path. Different angles of Justin and April bike riding. Justin climbs a wall in a gym as April watches from the ground. Justin and April ride bikes on a path.
Just being involved in the paraclimbing community is incredible. That community has changed my life forever, and I just want to do my best to represent it well. Trying to pave the way for the next generation, and whether that be in business, trying to raise awareness for things like disability discrimination or raising the bar as far as climbing grades are concerned, then I'm super motivated to do that and be a part of that.
Justin ascends up a climbing wall. He faces the viewer. Justin and April ride bikes on a path. The camera ascends, revealing the greater landscape. Text, The Blind Ascensionist, directed by Daniel Loveland, J. Snyder. Salt Lake City with a mountain range in the background at sunset. Text, produced by Lauren Spears, Jay Snyder. Cinematography by David Pierce, Rob Gooding. Camera operators, Daniel Polane, Christian Ankrum. Location sound by Aaron Ankrum. Edited by Rob Gooding. Eon fades to black.